Solo Leveling, the hottest, most hyped anime of spring 2024, has just dropped its 6th episode the other day, and oh my god, this show fucking slaps. I've made a few videos on Solo Leveling at this point, as this show genuinely has surprised me with how much I like it, especially a show that kind of plays on isekai trapped in a video game themes, which are generally pretty oversaturated at this point, but I've been really pleasantly surprised by how good Solo Leveling is and how it takes these themes, especially the trapped in a video game esque themes, and uses them in a new perspective. However, with the most recent episode of Solo Leveling dropping at the time of recording, episode 6, this show might have just gone to a whole new level. So Solo Leveling is a Korean webtoon that got super popular a few years back because of its awesome art style and apparently pretty cool and intense, unique story. As I said, Solo Leveling uses a lot of the same themes that many isekai or trapped in a video game type anime use in the gamification or the MMO gamification of real life, but it manages to do so in a pretty unique and new way that actually makes these themes not feel redundant as fuck. I've talked about this a ton on the channel, but in general, the isekai or video game, trapped in a video game anime, in my opinion, is so oversaturated, and most of them are hot garbage. However, though, that said, technically Solo Leveling isn't an isekai, and if you call it an isekai, the Solo Leveling fans are gonna get mad at you. Solo Leveling takes place in South Korea sometime in the modern age, but in this age, strange gates to a alternate dimension have opened, releasing mythical, magical, fantasy-esque monsters into our world, causing destruction and mayhem. However, our modern military technology is unable to harm these monsters at all, so humanity must turn to hunters, groups of people whose powers have manifested on the releasing of these portals in our world, who do battle with these monsters, journeying inside these portals where they slay monsters, eventually killing bosses, which causes the portals to shut. Our story follows Jinwoo, a twinkie man who is in his mid-20s and is regarded as the weakest hunter in the world. In classic anime style fashion, all of the power levels of the hunter are measured on a system through S through E, Jinwoo being an E-ranked hunter. Becoming a hunter in this world basically becomes a potentially lucrative career, if not a potentially deadly one, as if you manage to survive, you get paid pretty handsomely for clearing out and killing these monsters. Jinwoo we see is just a pretty normal Korean guy. He's very timid and pretty shy, and he's also very weak. However, he continues to work as a hunter despite his weakness and the fact that he is putting his life in jeopardy in order to provide for his family, to take care of his sick mother, and to send his little sister to school. Pretty freaking noble, if you ask me. They already had me hooked pretty quickly with this kind of story thread in the first episode. Of course, with a name like Solo Leveling, it's pretty easy to see where roughly this show is going. Solo Leveling hits us with a classic Attack on Titan moment where there is a crazy traumatic moment in the first few episodes that really sends our hero on his journey. As he ventures with his fellow hunters into a dungeon, however, things go horribly wrong as they suddenly enter an area which they are way too low level to comprehend with. Most of his hunter team dies here quite violently, Jinwoo almost dying quite violently when suddenly everything goes black and he wakes up in a hospital bed. We come to find out that our weak little boy has gone through a reawakening where his hunter powers have been reawakened. However, unlike all of the other hunters, he has the ability to continually increase his power level through a leveling system. This is where heavy MMORPG type elements really enter into our story. As Jinwoo begins to recover, he continues to train, slowly increasing his level and his power, no longer the weakest hunter in the world. What I really like about this story is the fact that it's grounded in our world, not some obscure fantasy isekai world, and that there is real stakes at play. Many of the hunters die and are very obviously putting their lives at risk trying to do their job, as well. Our main character, Jinwoo, has his own personal stakes trying to provide for his family, and really those things are very relatable and make for a good, compelling story. And in my opinion, a lot of the problems with animes like this really just like a lot of animes in general, is not being able to make these stakes feel real and realistic and get buy-in from your audience. This brings us to episodes 5 and 6 of Solo Leveling. Episode 5 having this really weird opening as all of the nurses in the hospital are fawning over Jinwoo, who has apparently gone through quite the glow up. We see as our boy has leveled up, he's also gone through his Gigachad arc. Not only has my man packed on the muscle, apparently he's grown another like 3 or 4 inches, and his voice has gotten deeper. I'm pretty sure that they changed his voice actor. No longer is our main character the twinky, weakest hunter in the entire world. Now he's a fucking badass. I'm not gonna lie, the beginning of this episode was a little bit cringe, and it definitely took me off guard with how drastically they physically changed the appearance of his character, but it also was kind of funny at the same time. And as we come to see in episode 6, the change in Jinwoo's physical appearance, I think really matches the change in kind of his mental one. So as Jinwoo has been in the hospital, he has failed to pay his rent, so he needs to get that dosh, that dollar, that paper, so he enlists to go on a C-rank dungeon with a bunch of random people that he doesn't know. This ends up being a setup as this group of 6 hunters basically use Jinwoo and another new character that gets introduced as bait, leaving them to die so that they can then come in and get all the loot and leave. Jinwoo challenges his domain expansion Gigachad, and he goes super ham, soloing the boss all by himself like you do. It's then that these group of hunters re-emerge coming into the boss chamber. At this point, they don't realize that Jinwoo is much stronger than everyone thinks he is. This is where our story once again takes a really kind of darker, realer, grittier turn, as now our main character Jinwoo has to come to terms with killing another human being. This is a really interesting kind of look at morality in the solo leveling world, especially because Jinwoo gets a notification through his like weird level up, kind of like UI system that he has that basically says he has a quest now to kill these 6 hunters that are trying to kill him. This is a really interesting way that our author like kind of makes Jinwoo grapple with this reality that it is kill or be killed in the hunter world, as literally the system is gamifying the murder, the killing of another human being, obviously even if it is in self-defense. Next, we get some crazy badass scenes. I'm not gonna lie, the art in Solo Leveling, the anime, is really freaking good, which you would hope it was, because the art in the web series is absolutely amazing. The author has a really cool way of capturing motion in a very like aesthetically pleasing way in the Solo Leveling web series, and it's safe to say they did a pretty good job, at least in my opinion, in implementing this in the anime. So these 6 hunters are trying to kill Jinwoo and his homie, and we already know how this goes, as in really brutal and intense scene, Jinwoo single-handedly, systematically kills all of these guys. The look of shock and horror coming across each of these hunters' face as they realize that they've done fucked up. This was a super intense episode, an intense way to end this episode, and it definitely caught me off guard. Like I said, Solo Leveling introduces a really gritty, kind of dark moment early on in the series, but after that, I had kind of thought that I could predict where this show was going. In large aspects, you can. The story is about Jinwoo's journey, leveling up and getting stronger, but there's much more like minutia in the story besides that kind of like broad aspect. There is character development. There is grappling with like moral realities of having to take another person's life, of having to do things that you normally wouldn't want to do to survive and to provide for the people that you care about. Right now, these gritty, dark anime are really popular. Obviously, Attack on Titan kind of inspired this like new wave of dark anime, and then obviously we have the MAPPA dark anime trio with Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Hell's Paradise. And Solo Leveling, it kind of continues that trend of this kind of gritty, real, dark anime, and I'm not gonna lie, I fucking love it. Yes, it's intense and it's not for everyone, but personally I love when stories are dark, gritty, and real. They invoke real emotion inside of you because the show is dealing with a bunch of, real world people in real world scenarios, minus obviously the monsters trying to kill everyone. I think it's in a lot of ways why HBO shows became so popular, as HBO was the first kind of network to branch out and make, more adult, raw, gritty, and real shows. I'm thinking like Deadwood from back in like the early 2000s. Solo Leveling is a lot like that. It's probably the grittiest, darkest anime I've seen that uses these kind of isekai, trapped in a video game, fantasy worlds, these types of like, themes, and does them in a really cool, unique way while still, invoking all of those like MMORPG themes that we know from, anime like Sword Art Online. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty surprised by how much I like Solo Leveling. It has a lot more depth to its story than I originally thought it would. And yes, it is awesome to look at and the action scenes are great, which is awesome, but there's plenty of anime that have good action scenes and, have like really aesthetic, animation style. For me, those things are great, but I also want a really good story with awesome characters and like deep characters to go with it. Or it's like, what's the point? Just go watch God of High School. But yeah, Solo Leveling's definitely freaking good. I definitely recommend you go watching it. Normally, I found with animes that get super hyped like Solo Leveling or name really your any other like, popular shonen, oftentimes they don't end up living up to the hype while still being good. So far, I think though, Solo Leveling is living up to the hype, and I look forward to seeing what the rest of Season 1 has in store for us. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video, learned something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, as your engagement on these videos is the best way to help support the channel. By subscribing, you help me continue to be able to make content like this, so I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, then why don't you check out one of our other Solo Leveling videos or many other anime videos. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, drink your water, hug your mother. Peace, love, Aru.